Hello, and thank you for being willing to take the time to hear us out about what we would like to offer you. We have a program called Mind University, which is essentially training on how to use this great function that we've all been given as human beings. It's a project we started on well before the pandemic, when it became clear to us that we were still being bombarded with all sorts of very bizarre conspiracy theories. There was Pizzagate, satanic abductions, witches' covens, and the peculiar enduring quality of the Flat Earth Society. And we thought, wait a minute, this is the 21st century. Haven't we outgrown some of these bizarre ideas about who we are as human beings? We began to think that it was the rise in the amount of data being thrown at us all through the World Wide Web, that the downpour from the internet was actually obscuring our ability to think clearly. And so we all came together sort of organically to say, how can we become better thinkers? And as we went into this, we began to feel that what was valuable to us might also be valuable to others. Hence, Mind University.
But it isn't just information overload that is overwhelming our minds. Most people that we know don't have the tools to break down disinformation, and therefore good storytelling is often getting the better of them. This is not only a danger to individuals in their personal lives getting scammed or bullied in a relationship, it's a greater danger to society as a whole. People who understand psychological manipulation techniques exploit our hopes and dreams and use our cognitive biases to control us.
So the need for us to become good thinkers was pretty obvious. And so at that point, we began to develop tools that would help us resist the manipulation and the propaganda that was appearing in the marketplace. Because in so many graduate schools at Stanford and MIT and elsewhere, people were learning how to get people to make decisions without their knowing. But then it turned out that the seriousness of the threat was something we had badly underestimated. And that is, when artificial intelligence began to appear in 2022, it quickly accelerated the capacity of others to manipulate us without our being aware of it.
So a little disclaimer here at the top. None of us is a professional neuroscientist, but we are all professional thinkers, each in our respective field. We realized that we had to learn how to think better in order to do better in our chosen professions. In a word, we began to think about thinking. That's metacognition, and that turns out to be the key to everything. What we have done in these 12 modules is to basically digest and synthesize the work of neuroscientists and psychologists and researchers and pull together these great ideas in a way that we believe will make it easier for you to understand what we now know about the human mind. We found our research to be invaluable as a tool to practically apply what we found out during our metacognitive investigations, and we hope that you will find it valuable as well.
So as we got deeper into the material, we were led to three kind of fundamental insights about the nature of the threat that we're now facing. Three insights that will help form the foundation of this program. And the first insight is that the mind is a shared resource. Of course, we all think of our minds as being projections of our brain, and therefore, if you want to understand the mind, you need to become a neuroscientist. That's not really the case. The recent development of something called the extended mind theory has shown us that the human mind is actually the product of numerous influences. The mind is not in the brain. The brain is in the mind, meaning that the mind is the product of the interaction of many different brains. We don't ever think alone. We never really think based on our own thoughts. We're so dependent on the external world and other thinkers. Now, this insight that the mind is not in the brain, sent us on a course to understand really what the mind is and how it works.
Understanding that the mind is a vast playground is the first step in learning how to operate, protect, and expand that mind. It's not some slab of meat imprisoned in a cranium. It's the most complex system in the known universe. It can either be a wonderful servant or a terrible master. If we don't know how to use it, it will likely be using us. It has created virtually everything in your world, and it is capable of destroying it as well. Its ability to connect to other minds is both its superpower and its greatest vulnerability. Have you mastered your mind, or have you surrendered it to the merchants who control your attention and your bank account?
Our second major insight was about metacognition as the key to good thinking. You have to begin to unpack what it means to think, just as if you had to learn to re-walk if you'd been in an accident. You can't just fall into thinking and assume you'll be good at it. We're all subject to limitations in our cognitive function. Whether you know it or not, your ability to think changes if you haven't had enough sleep, if you have poor nutrition, if you've been thinking too much already in a single sitting. Not only the physical limitations, but there are psychological limitations. You may be a thinking type, which means you always prioritize the logical mind, but you give short shrift to intuition or the sensations that your body is trying to bring in to make you a better thinker. There may be social limitations. You may be with people whose opinions are so radical and so persuasive that you find yourself giving away ground, allowing yourself to be overwhelmed by their own opinions. So metacognition, the key to good thinking. And this was our second insight that we have broken down into applicable steps for you.
And the final insight is this: we can change our mind. The good news is that we are not condemned to follow the dictates of whatever mindset life has given us by default. There is a roadmap for changing our negative or ineffective mindsets into something positive and life-affirming, and more effective at navigating a hailstorm of bullshit. Mind University has devised a formula for redesigning your thinking mindset, and we will show you how this formula is applied in 12 steps.
Our initial idea that Mind University could be contained in a long afternoon workshop soon expanded to be a weekend workshop and then a full week. And then we realized that we actually had 12 concise modules with a lot of information that we wanted to share. So right now we'd like to do a quick overview of what those 12 modules contain. And in a sense, each one could be visited in a singular fashion and you'd find value. But we also see that each of the modules builds on what we have already presented. And so we would love it if you'd be willing to take the whole 12 modules as an actual journey through metacognition to better thinking.
In this 12-week course, you will gain the insights from years of study in psychology, picking up tools that are unique to Mind University and synthesized into easily digestible bites. In Chapter 1, we explore how modern society is a dangerously manipulative place for our untrained minds. The very thing that makes us successful collaborators, sharing our mind space, also makes us vulnerable to others hacking into it. So we have to think about our thinking, metacognition, and manage our minds in order to navigate the world successfully. We explore the brain as a full-body system and how the extended mind is formed in relationship with others. Ask yourself, how can my mind be a terrible master? How can my mind be a wonderful servant? In Chapter 2, we explore the idea that belief is primarily for bonding with community. We are not inherently truth seekers, and believing something doesn't make it true. The pull of unexamined belief is strong, and it takes training and practice to focus on facts and logic. What beliefs are you holding that aren't true? In Chapter 3, we examine how the mind takes unconscious shortcuts to conserve energy that can lead us astray. We synthesize hundreds of cognitive biases into 4 distinct patterns or agendas we call the miser, the drama queen, the storyteller, and the defender. The job of managing these patterns falls to our conscious mind, the thinker. By familiarizing ourselves with these 4 drivers of cognitive bias, we can recognize how our thinking can be warping and compensate accordingly. Which character tends to dominate your mind? In Chapter 4, we explore what intuition is and what it is not, seeing that it is a valuable tool for perception, but not an all-knowing oracle. Intuition can be over-glamorized as a mystical kind of knowing on the one hand, and completely ignored on the other. But great thinkers know how to make use of this tool. How do you prime your intuition, and how do you interpret it? In Chapter 5, we explore critical thinking using the Bridge of Reason, a visual template that takes you through the most important steps for examining and making an argument. You can print out that worksheet to conceptually and visually work through an argument without jumping to conclusions. How confident are you that you thought it through from one end to the other? In Chapter 6, we explore what a mindset is, how it controls our expectations and unconscious limitations, how we can remove the old mindsets, design a new one, and inhabit it. What mindset have you aspired to create for yourself? In Chapters 7 through 11, we examine the often overlooked necessity of cultivating the best attitudes for optimal thinking, and then explore the 5 essential attitudes of great thinkers: curious, confident, methodical, open-minded, and truth-seeking. Which attitude is your weakness, and how can you strengthen it? In Chapter 12, we synthesize the insights of the preceding chapters and introduce them again in our archetype of the great thinker, Sherlock Holmes. We demonstrate ways to incorporate the 5 attitudes into your thinking mindset, how to put on this thinking archetype and use it. In future in-person trainings, we will go more in depth on these principles and teach you to create 10 archetypes that you can switch to like tools in a Swiss Army knife, being the best version of you for the task at hand. In other trainings, we will explore other aspects of the mind, the irrational, the subconscious, self-actualization, and self-transcendence. Understanding the human mind has been the great challenge of science, philosophy, and psychology since Homo sapiens first appeared. Recent breakthroughs in the field of neuroscience have begun to provide a clearer picture of what the mind is and is not, and how we can make the best use of this amazing faculty. This course will give you tools to navigate this manipulative world more safely, more confidently, and more engaged. In recent years, we have seen how primitive our brains still seem to be, how easily we fall back into old habits of tribalism, othering, hating, and dehumanizing, how reactive and unconscious we are when fear-inducing primers and cultural constructs are imposed upon us. We have achieved great things when working together, but we are still composed of more ancient wiring than anything else. Our visions of a conscious utopia are fragile, and sometimes they become the dangers themselves when forced upon society, without respect for our nature. Are we about to extinguish our own race because we can't evolve quickly enough to work in symbiosis with our environment, to keep up with the incredible power of our tools? What we see as the answer to this question is that our new frontier of exploration and technology is internal, the mind. The more we understand how our minds work and how we work in groups, the better we can create cultural constructs that hold back our worst instincts and encourage our better nature. This requires metacognition. This requires embodied thinking. This requires full-mind utilization.
When we began talking about Mind University, we came up with a phrase we liked: the second cognitive revolution. And at the time, we thought we were talking about human cognition. When AI joined the game, all the rules changed. It's only been around since November of 2022, but already we have had the chance to do some deep research on the effects of artificial intelligence on human thinking. And the news is not good. The use of artificial intelligence has become a crutch. Using artificial intelligence is actually dumbing us down. The use of AI makes you far less confident in the output of your own mind. It lowers your ability to comprehend what you or someone else has said. It makes you take less ownership over your material. There's less engagement with it. You become disinterested in the workings of the mind. Now, AI is here to stay. So it's absolutely imperative that we learn how to work with this new kid and make sure that AI becomes not a terrible master, but a terrific servant to human thinking. My name is Rebecca Armstrong. I come to Mind University after 30 years of teaching in higher education. My subject matter is philosophy and ethics, but I've also taught religion and mythology. I have a strong interest in those topics. I worked for 12 years for the Joseph Campbell Foundation and have very much come to appreciate the importance of the narrative we tell ourselves as individuals and as a society, and the role it has in shaping our mindset, our worldview, how we come to our thinking. For the past 20 years, I've been in private practice as a mediator and counselor, and weaving these various skill sets together is what I bring as my contribution to these 12 chapters of Mind University.
My name is Brian Muldoon. I've been a lawyer and a mediator for over 40 years. You might ask, well, how did a lawyer get interested in the mental processes? Well, it wasn't really as a lawyer. As a lawyer, you're trained to think in a logical, evidence-based way, which is a great start, but it is missing the heart, the passion that fuels so much of our conflict. And in my 1996 book, The Heart of Conflict, we explore the dynamics of human interaction. But what I discovered was you need to drill down deep to get to the essence of conflict, why people and nations can't get along seemingly. So this led me into studying neuroscience. And after neuroscience, the psychology of cognition, because that's where things go awry. It's not just the feelings that people have, but the thoughts that they conjure up that are the basis of those feelings that bring most of us into conflict. That became my passion, which was understanding what it means to be in conflict and how these disputes can be resolved.
I'm Andrew Shepard. I developed the film content for this course. I am a filmmaker. My company is called Converging Perspectives. I primarily focus on edutainment, the intersection between education and entertainment. I think that everything should be educational and entertaining simultaneously. So also my passion for psychology has led me into different spiritual practices, the different techniques that people use to expand consciousness. And that has led to really understanding that the intellectual processing alone is not sufficient to find full mind utilization. Working with Brian and Rebecca, we really did have some different skill sets that we brought to the table, which allowed us to really look at these ideas from a 360-degree picture and develop content that would really slice through patterns of education around psychology to get to a much deeper, fuller experience of what the mind is and how to use it.
So thank you for joining us on this little journey into the mind and how to improve our cognitive processes. But this is just really the beginning. We have two other courses that we will be offering. The first is called the Mental Decathlete. 10 different cognitive skills that need to be cultivated so that we can really access our greatest creativity. And the second one is thinking beyond thought. There are many traditions that hold that rational thought is not the end game, but it's really the beginning. And we will explore the different forms of consciousness and awareness that go beyond the rational. And we hope you'll join us on that as well. Thanks.